Welcome back, everybody. Got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner MetaZone, Roby, and MScribe. And today we're going to be talking about some Alkanes.
Bitcoin and the ecosystem, dude.
Yes. That's where Alkanes exist, is in Bitcoin.
Yeah, you got to be very specific, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Alkanes? Is that like a...
Yeah. I thought it was like a chemical product.
Well, if you look at some of the tokens, there's definitely like a chemistry theme.
Yes.
Right? There's like butane, there's methane, and other thanes. Right?
Those are gases.
Well, there you go. There's a gas theme going on then within the Alkanes ecosystem.
Like Fartcoin, you mean?
Fartane. That's another one.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, actually.
Great. Perfect.
But yeah, so we talked about Alkanes like a couple months ago, as in, look, another metaprotocol is spawned.
Yeah.
Seemingly overnight, but it's like been in construction for like probably more than a year or so because we've heard about it.
Oil team has been around for a while.
Yeah,
we've been cooking for a while.
Yeah, the whole Metashrew technology framework for indexing and such was like, okay, at some point you're gonna cook something with all this technical primitives they put together, right? And then they did. They launched Alkanes out of nowhere. Like some of their flagship tokens, like diesel and methane, started like doing pretty well. So we talked about it, and then waiting for more iterations of interesting things to kind of roll out, and now that seems to be happening in real time.
Yeah.
Enough people have been pinging us to be like, guys, you should pay attention to Alkanes because, they're doing stuff over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've heard a few of those pings, right?
Yeah.
They really want us to pay attention.
Right. Yeah. And so that's why we're talking about it. And guess who else is talking about it? Masari. It says Alkanes mark the next evolution in Bitcoin meta protocols, transitioning from static token issuance to dynamic application deployments. And
so you need a little bit of back history, I guess, to understand what that all means. Meta protocols on Bitcoin, how would you define that in like a couple of seconds?
Meta protocol. So a protocol is just a rule set.
Yeah.
Right. It's Ordinals is, well, actually Bitcoin is the protocol. Ordinals is the meta protocol on Bitcoin. And then there's like these sub meta protocols within Ordinals. And all this is just a rule set. Bitcoin is a rule set. TAP, BRC20s, these are all rules that if you follow as a market participant, as a developer, then you get to partake in the benefits of the ecosystem building within the same rule set.
Yeah, I think that explains it pretty well. So yeah, like you said, there were already early day iterations of that with Ordinals runaway success, and it onboarded a lot of interest to expanding the value proposition of what should be or what could be built on top of Bitcoin protocol.
Yeah.
But, of course, that kind of like dried out after runes and such. It's been kind of like in a stagnant phase, possibly because of the static token issuance models of a lot of these meta protocols, right? Like,
yeah, they're essentially, in a sense, non-viable just because
can't really do anything with them.
Well, you can't do anything with them. There's no liquidity, like in a DEX environment for the most part, and
it's just a lot of issues, right? And, in comparison to tokens that are being issued on other chains that have much more robust and matured like infrastructure.
Yeah.
Per the design of the blockchain, right? They're not building on Bitcoin on like when you're on Solana or ETH. These are like, they have their own native virtual machines. Therefore you can feasibly build out more robust applications on top of these chains, right? Which has been happening for years now, which is why it's very challenging to build things on Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
It's not built for that really.
Yeah, so Jake here comes in. He says, Alkane's dev community is growing by the day with new and fresh experimentations launching frequently. We got 0x Bunzi and Hath Banger dropping Alchemist, gamified minting experience. Alkane Pandas launching a 404 project, ERC 404. We're going to talk about that in a second. Feels organic because the dev teams are not incentivized by token grants and are just doing it out of interest. Very positive signs for the meta protocol.
Yeah, and as we know, that's always the most important factor, right? Anybody can spin up a new meta protocol anywhere. It's whether or not developers will show up and actually use it to build stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's the it factor, right?
Yeah. So in the links in the description below, there is documentation that goes into really deep into how Alkanes works, so that if you're a developer and you want to partake in this ecosystem with smart contracts within the Bitcoin network, this is how you use it. And I think one of their first tokens was Diesel, right?
I think so.
I
want to say
I remember when it first released.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the highest market cap token.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not that, then methane, one of the two.
Yeah.
But over time, they started iterating. Here you can kind of see the market now. They got fungible tokens and they got non-fungible collections, right? So
yeah, so Alchemist we're going to talk about in a second. We got a market cap of about $1 million, and then Pandas, another one we're going to talk about, is 3.6 million.
It's not bad, and you got to factor in again, this is a very tough time to be launching and deploying things.
Yeah, here's Bitcoin. Methane, dude, 22 million.
Okay, where's Diesel? It's got to be in there too. There it is.
Diesel, we got 18 million.
All right, so methane wins out.
That's right. And we got the charts and everything. There's one that I saw here. Butane 800,000. Okay.
Yeah, so if you see, there's some volume here, but it's not breakneck volume that you see on other chains, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's per the nature of, it's tough aggregating liquidity in the Bitcoin ecosystem just because the infrastructure rails don't really allow that to happen, right?
Yeah.
As it does on other chains. But nonetheless, still, things are being built and deployed with this metaprotocol. There could be, you could imagine, so the big question here is, does this have a potential to do what a BRC20s did?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What Ordinals did initially, stuff like that, right? Which attracted a lot of volume.
Oh, yeah.
Despite these infrastructure, friction points, pain points.
Yeah, 100%. And so if we go deeper into the mint section, there's alkanes and ordinals. So sticking with alkanes, you see live minting in progress. So we got O3. That's the ozone layer, dude.
Is it?
Yeah, that's O3.
I didn't know that. Okay.
We got caffeine.
It's still gaseous, right? Gaseous.
It's very gaseous, yes.
All right. So sticking with the theme, that's good.
Caffeine, nicotine. We got gold.
Okay, now we're just,
Yeah, we're getting into the elements here.
Yeah.
Ooh, boobs.
Now we're cooking, dude. Now we're cooking, right?
And we got water. Wow. We got everything that we need.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so this you're just going through that list. Definitely doesn't seem like too much memery. Boobs is kind of memeish.
True. This is very chemistry-esque.
Yeah, which is no surprise, I guess, why the runaway hit of recent times is something called Alchemy or Alchemist, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're definitely building a theme and an ethos around this ecosystem. But let's move on so we can kind of get through these links because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, Alkane Pandas represents a real innovation, the first smart contract NFT on Bitcoin, the basis for Orbitals collections. So I'm assuming all NFTs using on Alkanes are called Orbitals. The proof that when you have fun and experiment on Bitcoin, you can do things no one thought that was actually possible. So here's what pandas look like.
That's a panda, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important to emphasize what you just said. They have their own unique classification because it's important to keep in mind these are not ordinals. This is a competing metaprotocol to ordinals.
Yeah.
So that might be confusing to a lot of people at first. A lot of people might assume anything on Bitcoin is an ordinal.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. Some people and others have attempted to compete against ordinals in the past, like atomicals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They also put out a non-static metaprotocol rule set where you can develop things of functional use that's not leveraging the framework of ordinals itself, right?
Yeah, and it just didn't get the traction that it needed, and it was supported by Unisat, and now they delisted that support, and it's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. There's a lot of factors, and we'll touch on what these factors are, independent of technical grace, right? It's not just how good a technical implementation is. There are other market factors here in context of the Bitcoin ecosystem that determines whether things can take off or not.
Yeah, developer interest. Did you attract the attention of the influencers within the Bitcoin ecosystem? There's a handful of them.
That's really what I was alluding to. Yeah, it's an influencer cabal that really puts pressure on market sentiment around certain things, right? And then there's biases involved with that, whether or not, and more specifically, bag biases, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Because you're talking about an ordinals competitor. A lot of these influential types in the Bitcoin ecosystem have been accruing ordinals for a long time now. They're
Mhm.
pretty heavily invested in the prospect of that meta protocol.
Yeah, and they will actively fade anything else.
Yeah, but not us, right?
Not us.
We like ordinals, and we like
Bitcoin.
everybody who's trying to do something, right? Because we talked about atomicals. We interviewed A.
Yeah, A was cool.
He was
He's
very
super
cool.
smart.
Yeah, like, dude, this guy's up to something.
Yeah.
Right? But we just, it's a flip of a dice whether or not, you know, the rest of the market is going to agree.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think we're running into a similar scenario here with Alkanes.
Yeah. All right, moving through some of these tabs. Ordinals Alpha, Alkane Pandas pulled off a historic move on Bitcoin, a smart contract that allows you to swap your Alkane Pandas for Bamboo. The swap between fungible and non-fungible tokens, first time on Bitcoin. Yeah, so they developed a smart contract. I think we're going to go into it here, ERC 404, like smart contract. And so, yeah, you can swap your Panda for fungible tokens, and they say that if you wait too long to swap back, you might get a completely different NFT.
I wonder what that time threshold is. I'm actually surprised.
I think the time it's not a specific time. It's whether or not others are swapping too, and so you might just get their Panda.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just kind of, so the mechanism of that is essentially you're putting one asset into a pool, say the NFT, the Panda, and then you're just pulling from a fungible token pool.
Yeah.
And like a reciprocal return rate, so that I don't know, I guess the idea is that fungible token should be more liquid, right, than the NFT itself.
That would be the idea, but I feel like you are trading against the speculation of the NFT versus the fungible token. It's like maybe you have more faith that the fungible token has more upside, so you want to switch the NFT for the fungible token.
Yeah, possibly.
And
or you just need quick exit liquidity, right?
Quicker maybe.
Yeah, like this model hasn't like proven itself yet. Like it originated on Ethereum, ERC 404, and there was like a brief moment in time where people were really excited about this because, you know, that's the golden goose, right? Is getting NFT liquidity much more sustained.
Yeah.
Not like entirely dependent on whether or not there's like a bull market happening, right? When there's a bull market, NFTs become very liquid.
Yeah.
Right? But in the absence of that, they become almost completely illiquid in a lot of cases, right? So
yeah, because one NFT has a different value than the other. I mean, that's why they're NFTs, right? And fungible tokens don't have that discrepancy.
Correct. And because, you know, the infrastructure of automated market making pools and stuff for fungible tokens, it's not as market dependent, right? All that matters is how much liquidity is in the pool.
Correct.
Now those tokens have, you know, infinite sustainability as far as like whether or not you can enter and exit a position.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so ERC 404 on Bitcoin is not the only innovation. Alkane Pandas introducing AP69, a two-way swap between fungible and non-fungible. And so, but there's a component here where you swap Panda for Bamboo, which is what we were talking about, but there was another method where you send off Bamboo and then it's like a casino. I think that's like coming up later.
Yeah, that's just other showcase demonstrations of, you know, smart contract functionality, right? So yeah, if their big differentiators in Metaprotocol is they're putting smart contracts on Bitcoin. Like, well, what do you do with them, right? What kind of product experience can you bring? Yeah,
so this post is about the ERC 404, but let's move on since we talked about that. Swap interface for Alkanes is now live on Ordiscan. This is a perfect demo for everything as is a token. Seamless swaps between fungible and non-fungible, so now getting support, wider support with Ordiscan.
Yeah, so Ordiscan is pretty interesting how they just support things, right? I remember when runes first hit, they were like really quick to support like RSIC, for example, like integrate like certain interface widgets that, you know, really support a project at an individual basis. So here they are again doing that with the Pandas. It's like, here, it's just so you guys really understand how the swapping is like, you know, seamless.
Yeah.
Integrated into their Explorer app.
Yeah, and this is another component of like whether or not a Metaprotocol sticks is like industry support.
100%. Yeah, this is called Ordiscan, right? This is an Ordinals native.
Yeah, good point.
Developer app.
Yeah.
And here they are. It's like, all right, this isn't necessarily Ordinals, but we should support it, right? Because there's a potential here it can reinvigorate some interest in, you know, the Bitcoin ecosystem space.
Yeah, and if you're wondering where the smart contracts lie, it's embedded within the witness data field. And so just like you would embed pictures and text into the witness data field with an ordinal, you are embedding these smart contracts within that witness data field.
Mm-hmm.
And then that smart contract is being executed at the indexer level.
Right.
By the oil team.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is what I was talking about, introducing Bamboo Roll, the first game of chance smart contract on Bitcoin. Pandas love to roll. Now you can roll with your Bamboo, and ultimately, user can send as little as one Bamboo or 100,000 tokens into the forest at a time. Once the Bamboo is rolled, one of the two scenarios plays out. 55% chance that Bamboo is getting lost in the forest, and 45% chance that it comes back with double. So if you send me one Bitcoin, I promise to send you two back.
Not all the way promise, though.
Well, no, I'm promising 100%.
100%?
Yeah, 100%. I guarantee you, if you send me one Bitcoin, I send you two back.
Trust me, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
yeah, but this is different, right? So this leverages...
yeah, I was like, what are you implying with that, dude? That's like a...
No, this is different. This actually leverages the Merkle root of Bitcoin, which is provably random.
Right.
So that the 55 and 45% chance is actually real. It's not a trust me, bro situation.
Good.
You feel relieved, right?
A little bit, yeah.
But
I don't like trust
I promise
me, bro.
I'll give you 55% chance to give you two Bitcoin back if you send me one.
So you asked me would I take those odds?
Yeah.
So I have a 45% chance of getting nuked.
Yes.
Right? Wait. No, 55% chance of getting
Yeah,
nuked.
you 55% chance to get
45% chance I'd double up.
Yeah.
I think I would take those odds.
I mean, I feel, yeah.
Not bad.
It is a really good chance.
Man, that would fucking hurt though, dude, if I lost the Bitcoin to that. But I mean, it is what it is, right? You know, God decided I didn't deserve it, I guess. It's provably random.
Yeah, but think if you got twice.
I know. God is great. These are good times. But this is cool, right? You know, it's a little bit of like feels like gambling to me. A little bit.
It is. It is definitely.
Yeah.
But I invite you guys to read through this because it's interesting. Like 5% gets locked into this pool, and it shows you how to do it all.
Mm. Yeah, that's pretty damn. They're explaining. Goddamn, it's going deep into explaining what's happening here. But I think that's important, right? Because you need to demonstrate at the end of the day. You know, what's the differentiator here? It's like
and this is really a showcase of the smart contracts that you can you could
do
flex
shit.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very like basic functionality, right? But that's kind of the idea, you know. This isn't like the full extent of what can be done. Right?
Yeah.
It's just the idea that plant the seed in people's heads is like, you know, you could do something more now.
Yeah.
All right. So really it's up to you devs to, you know,
to really take advantage of that.
Yeah, and output some sort of, you know, impactful experience or product or whatever, right?
Yeah. So one we mentioned earlier is called Mist. So you're probably going to see me posting about Mist because it's new, innovative, and makes sense on Alkanes. I think Ordinals are the best place for art. Runes, best place for culture and meme coins. Alkane's the best place for gamification tokens like Mist. Being the first to really leverage this and take off makes Alchemist stand out. So innovative and unique, stacked OG devs. These are the two guys I mentioned earlier. Stealth meant it wasn't gamed and exploited, and a unique luck-based minting meant it wasn't whale heavy. Great initial holder count was at the time both East and West could mint. Interesting. Of course. Yeah, it's magic.
It's magic. You can't forget that. If it's not magic,
yeah, don't mint it.
Yeah, don't mint. Yeah, so we missed this completely, but I heard a lot about.
Yeah, we must have been right in the middle between East and West.
Yeah, whatever that is, dude.
Yeah,
central. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So we missed it. We were probably slumbering or something while all this was going down. But
correct.
I did hear about it. It's like people were touting this as like this is revolutionary mint experience on Bitcoin, never been seen before. So we had to do some digging to kind of understand what happened, right?
Yeah.
So here's the founder.
Here's the founder, introducing Alchemist, a new experiment in luck-based token minting powered by Alkanes, no L2s, no side chains, just pure Bitcoin and real smart contracts. Alchemist taps into Bitcoin's own transaction mechanics to create true on-chain randomness for every mint, no outside oracles, no shortcuts, just a clever use of Bitcoin's foundation. Through thanks to Alkanes, every brew is a new chance, and sometimes you'll get to rebrew for another shot. No whales, no pre-mines, no games, just open. And huge thanks for Oil Wallet for creating and running the Alkanes metaprotocol. None of this would be possible without them. If you're new to new ideas and want to see what's next on Bitcoin smart contracts, check out Alchemist.
Okay, so yeah, I read that. It still didn't really...
Yeah, it didn't really explain what it was, right?
There's brewing happening, but on the next tweet here, it kind of like demonstrates in the little GIF here at the bottom, like kind of like the interface experience, I think. You know, you're brewing things in a cauldron.
Nice.
I guess that costs like a little bit of money, right? These are sats, right?
Yeah, 8 sats per VByte here.
All right, so you're brewing something. Boom. What is that? You got a spell? Damn, it happened too fast.
Huh. So now it's brewing, 139 power.
Now, so what did you do with that? I think then you just cast your spell at that point, right? After you brew. And then I think that here, pause it. Can you pause this?
Yeah.
Okay, you gotta pause it so we can actually like understand here.
Spell preview. It says 54 Alchemist, promising perfect power 54,747. This is rebrew and this is accept.
So I guess depending on these metrics, or whether or not you want to cast this spell, if it's a good or a bad one, I don't know. But whatever this cauldron brewing process, that factored into how many tokens you're minting. Right?
Correct. Yeah. So you're actually minting these tokens, and
oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you can accept this or you can rebrew, which gives you another roll, but you have to spend sats to roll it again.
I see. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder what the spectrum of like how big or how little of a supply you're like brewing at a time, right?
It's true.
Like
because typically BRC20s or any fungible token on Bitcoin, you're minting a certain amount, 1,000 per mint, or
then that's exactly right. It's like the mint experience is static, right? Because it has these like preset limitations as far as how many mints can be done at a time.
Yeah,
how much of the supply can be minted at a time. So this is much more dynamic because of the addition of these smart contracts, right?
Yeah, and leveraging Bitcoin to generate some of this random data.
Pretty cool, right? So here it is. After that whole like brewathon, now we got a live token here trading on ID Club.
So let me.
It hasn't been around very long.
Yeah, market cap 1.3 million, total volume 500,000,
3,000 holders. So this is good. This is like a success story so far, right?
Yeah.
Some third-party app developer decided, I want to create a new token, but I want to do it in a unique way, right?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. So a gamified token mint experience.
And Unisat, another big player in the industry for Bitcoin. Unisat Alkanes igniting Bitcoin's elements. So Unisat is supporting Alkanes in their wallet. So universal address support, simplicity of single address, one wallet, multi-protocol, lightning performance, and then open source, of course.
All right. So this is it. So we're seeing it again. They're generating some traction. There's some devs deving. That's important. There's some coins going up. Number go up tech.
Yep. Love that technology.
And Unisat's coming in to like swoop in some of that activity, right? Like they did for BRC20s. They just kind of swooped in.
Yeah, and they did that for Atomicals too.
Yeah, it didn't work out so well for Atomicals.
Yeah.
Again, for many factored variables, right? But a big one is that influencer push, whether or not like the cabal of Ordinals and the Bitcoin ecosystem cabal, like, again, will they decide to support this or not? We've seen that happen over and over time again. Typically, that is like a deciding factor.
That's the X factor, really, for like success.
At least for the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's a result of bifurcation and siloing and just
bag bias.
It's been kind of a messy like rollout over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we still need people to push boundaries and try, right, to create something of notable interest native to Bitcoin, right? Because these things do contribute. We do have an empty mempool on Bitcoin.
Still empty.
Still empty. Something's got to fill those blocks, right?
Yes.
Something. If it's not Ordinals anymore, can it be Alkanes?
Yeah.
What else could it be?
Right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right. If you guys found anything else in the Bitcoin ecosystem or beyond that you find interesting, please put it in the comment section below. We'd like to take a look at it and see if there's substance in the noise. So I appreciate you guys for watching. And if you have any questions, also put it in below. But we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.